If you can only see one way out, you must be in constriction. Now you're probably wondering, what is constriction? It's a state set, and it's just above destruction and just below construction. Constriction, destruction, constriction, construction. And your goal is to get to construction. But before we get there, let's talk about the pain that we feel by being constricted. If you feel that you must go through, then you're in constriction, instead of having an opportunity to go around or skip a couple steps. Constriction is when your pipes are clogged, and it comes with this pain of constipation. You feel like you have to work harder. You have to do everything. The weight of the world is on your shoulders. You feel like everything in life is just hard because you're trying to squeeze through this eye of the needle, right? You're trying to just land everything every single day. And so many people depend upon your performance every single day, whether it's the people that work under you, whether it's people who work beside you, or your family that you're feeding, or the older generation of the family that you're providing for. And you're doing the best you can to keep your feet firmly planted on the ground so you can maintain this constrictive life. You end up sacrificing time for yourself. You sacrifice time in the gym or time doing things you love so you can do things that must be done. There's an old bumper sticker that says, I owe, so off to work I go. So here you are doing things because you have to, not because you get to. Things because you have to, but not because you get to for the fun of it. So these are the problems, and it feels overwhelming. The pressure of it just mounts every single day. And then at the same time, there's no way out. So what's possible from a constriction state set? Well, the first step, and the only one you probably can see, is moving to construction, where you can build relationships. You can construct a body or your health that you feel like that is worthy of the life that you live. You feel that you can earn some more money. You feel like you can hold on to some of the money that you actually do earn. And then at the same time, what you're doing is constructing a life, again, and I repeat myself, that is worth living, to get to this construction zone where you can see that there's more than one ways to build this life in these 5 domains of personal growth, of relationships, of life, of money, econ, and then your health, which is the most important, because everything starts with you and then cascades out to the other domains of life. But how do you get there? How do you take the step to get outside of this constrictive life? Well, let me tell you a quick story. I raced go-karts for a long, long time and was lucky enough to be sponsored and win multiple championships. But when I was a little 7, 8, 9, 10-year-old little racer, just learning what it meant to hold the throttle wide open going around a corner, on our engines we had restrictor plates. And what did the restrictor plate do? Well, it slowed the flow of what? Of air. And when you have less air, you have to put less fuel into the engine. So there's less combustible elements that would spark inside of that cylinder. And when there's less combustible elements, there's less horsepower. So the engine's slower for the little tykes that go around. NASCAR does the same thing on this fastest tracks on Daytona and Talladega, where they put restrictor plates in, and it restricts the airflow, restricts the flow of life into the engine, therefore less fuel to keep the air-fuel ratio proper or correct for the engine to run properly. So less horsepower, less speed, less all those things. And that's what living in life in constriction is all about. It's all about there's less and less and less, and therefore you have to do less of the other things. Less gym, less relationships, less time, less freedom, less time at the lake, less vacations, less sleep, which makes everything compound even in a worse level. So how do you get more? Well, you have to remove the restrictor plate. And when you get more air, you can do breathing exercises. You literally can get more air into your lungs to fuel the life that you dream of. Because when you have more air, then you can add more gas, and then you can have a bigger explosion and build more horsepower in your life. We can get to superchargers and turbochargers and forced air and fuel injections down the road for another analogy. But what happens is when I turned 13 years old, I was able to race in the junior class instead of the rookie class. And my dad was able to remove the restrictor plate. So I was now racing the same engine that the adults were racing without a restrictor plate. And I was at a lighter weight. So I have more horsepower to weight ratio. So that's what it is. You need to lighten your life so you can take the horsepower that you're used to generating, all of the things that the stress that you handle, the self-capacity you build, and all these things that you do. And if you free yourself up and build this tremendous amount of horsepower at the same time, you will construct a life worth living. You will build the body. You will construct relationships. You will earn more money. You will keep more money. You will be able to get more and more and more by this being in this construction zone. And that's the principle of the story, the lesson, is that we live life with restrictor plates. And all we have to do is remove the restrictor plate so then we can have more of life. And that's how you move from constriction to construction. Oh, one more thing. There's 3 steps: tactical, tactile, and self. The first is tactical. You need to begin with the end in mind. You need the plans, the construction plans, the blueprint, the 3D rendering of what your life is going to look like at the end. And the second thing you need is to feel it, tactile, feel what it is to be you. And you do that by testing. Test drive the car that you want, the truck that you want, the vehicle that you want. Go test out. Let me tell you what it feels like to test out something. You can test a diet, you can test a workout plan, you can do those things. But when I lived in Santa Monica, I used to go to church on Sunday nights at the Mosaic Church in Hollywood. And I did things at that church that I would never do at my church here in Park City. And what was that? Oh, when they put the music on, I put my hand up and I start dancing, I do all that stuff. Never in Park City, because it would have been, I'd see like another parent or dad at the gym or the church or at the grocery store or something like that. And I would be fear of judgment of those things. But I was able to test that out. Now when I go to church, right, I'm like, woo, like that, and nobody ever says anything. That was just FOPO, fear of other people's opinion, or as we call reflective judgment. So go test out the blueprint, the 3D rendering of what your life is going to be. Go test that. That's tactile. And the third is self, and that's giving yourself permission. You don't need a Roger Bannister to chase. You don't need any of those things. You just need to allow yourself to be you. Give yourself permission to be yourself. I know that's a tough one, right? Because, you know, when you go work at a job, you have a dress code. And then they have the conduct code, and they have all these things, and they pay you to be a version of yourself, a stripped down version of yourself that's not your true self. And then you have all these expectations in relationships. Your dad or your mom may expect you to not wear a certain hat or not to wear certain clothes. Or when I became a vegetarian, which I'm not anymore, but when I was a vegetarian, question on all the food that I ate because I wasn't eating meat anymore. I could eat all the Snickers and drink all the Gatorade and drink all the Mountain Dews that I want in the day, and nobody ever said a word. Then all of a sudden I'm trying to do something healthy for myself and I get questioned. So allow yourself to be you and to test out every aspect of your life from this point forward, and then just give yourself permission and allow. That's it. Those are the things. Begin with the end in mind. 3D rendering of what the life is going to be. Test it out, and then allow yourself to be you.